to dream and acted upon those dreams. I present to you the Clara Luper Show with Mrs. Clara Luper.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a happy good evening to you wherever you are. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and today's show is being brought to you by Behold the Walls, a book written by Clara Luper. It's not surprising that you say that's the best book that has ever been written on the civil rights movement. You are exactly right. That book was written by someone that was there. 346 exciting pages. Behold the Wall by Clara Luper is happy today to present the Clara Luper Radio Show. I promised you the best. I promised you that I would bring you the best people throughout the United States. I'm fulfilling that promise. This is a new decade, 1990, and it will be filled with excitement. Tonight, Mrs. Linzetta Carter will entertain the Amigos Club at her lovely home. It will be the club meeting of the 90s, the first one, and all club members are asked to be present on time, and that's at 6:30 p.m. It has been reported that Mrs. Olive Wallace will be attending that meeting, and we are looking forward to seeing her. That's tonight at exactly 6:30 p.m. The NAACP Youth Council is working hard because the Black History Monument must become a reality. A monument that will honor men and women of all races, creeds, and colors that have fought in the area of civil rights. If you have not sent your donation to the NAACP Youth Council's Freedom Center, do that. The address is Post Office Box 11106, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The NAACP Youth Council would like to thank those churches that have made a contribution to the monument. Let's build a monument. Let's be proud of our heritage, whether we are black, white, or polka dot. You have just listened to the Bobby Battle Show, and I do hope that you will listen to Bobby every week because he certainly has something exciting to say. This program today is being made possible by Cashlands. Cashlands, and I want you to remember that name. Cashland Check Cashing, located at 1945 Northeast 23rd Street here in Oklahoma City. The telephone number is 424-1222. They have what is known as a rush refund. Remember, when you file your income tax return, many times you have to wait 6 to 8 weeks for your refund. Those days are gone forever, thanks to Rush Refund. Turn your tax return into fast cash with Pinnacle's One's Rush Refund loan. Just drop your completed return by Cashland Check Cashing, and in as little as 4 days, you will have that check in your hand. Why would you want to wait? Why wait? Contact Cashland Check Cashing today at 424-1222 or stop by Cashland Check Cashing at 1945 Northeast 23rd Street, corner of Northeast 23rd Street and Martin Luther King Avenue. That is, if you need some money, and I know you need some money to pay your bills, and your tax return can be returned to you in 4 days. All you will have to do is to go to Cashland Check Cashing. Now for a little secret. No longer will you have to run all over town to pay your utility bills. You can go by Cashlands, 1945 Northeast 23rd Street. You can cash that check and buy your groceries across the street, and then you can also pay those utility bills. Now you have to pay those utility bills. If you don't pay them on time, they will cut your gas off, your lights and your water, and then your beautiful wife will be sitting up there in that cold house. Go on to Cashland Check Cashing, 1945 Northeast 23rd Street, and take care of your financial business. This is a Clara Luper Radio Show, and this is a time that we salute Evelyn Pittman. Evelyn.
Hi.
Yes, what's going on? Tell me.
Did you get that material I sent?
I go to the Fifth Amendment.
Oh,
So tell me about the material that you
all
sent.
right. I sent you some material in regard to the Black Heritage Program, the Oklahoma Historical Society, that is going to be presented during Black History Month, which will be in February. And on Wednesday, February the 7th, at 11:30 in the historical building. Now that's located at 2100 North Lindsay. We are going, I'll just read what is on the program. You will have introductions by Bruce Joseph, who is chairman of the Brown Bag Program.
What kind of program?
Brown Bag Program. That's a program they have at the historical building at noon. People from the Capitol complex come in, they bring their lunches in brown bags. And anyone else can come in to witness these programs. And it so happens that the Black Heritage programs will be in February. So the public can come in, enjoy themselves, and while they're eating, they will be entertained.
Oh, you have to bring your own lunch.
Bring your own lunch. I understand there's some place there you can buy a lunch for $3, but I'm not up on that.
Well, I'm up on it at the state capitol. You can go to the Capitol Heritage Cafeteria, which is located in the state capitol building. It opens every day from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. The snack bar is open from 7 to 4 p.m. Now, that is managed by Mr. Stephen Knight. He becomes the first black in the South to own a restaurant within a state capitol complex.
Isn't that remarkable?
And be sure and go there, and I have gone, and the food is delicious.
Well, now, that will be a new experience for me, which brings me, I'll make a comment now. You know Mrs. Jewel Beatty?
Yes, I know. That's one of my
All right.
sorority sisters.
Right. Now, Jewel Beatty was the first Afro-American to be hired as a waitress in the Capitol cafeteria. That was back in 1942. Our people could work in the kitchen, but they could not wait tables. And it was there that she met Jim Noble. And Noble was around 77 years old then. And she said that he took 2 meals there that the state paid for because he was feeble and not able to work. I just want to throw that in.
Oh, thank you for throwing that in. I really needed it.
All right. Now, go back to the program on the 7th. William Rose, Major William Rose, who is chairperson of the Black Heritage Committee, will bring greetings. All right. Part 1 of the program will feature the Negro Spiritual, which is a video that features the Evelyn Pittman Choir with narrations by State Representative Freddie Williams. Part 2 will feature music from Rich Heritage. That's a book.
Let me tell that. That's a book that you wrote that I wouldn't be without.
All right.
I wouldn't be without that book.
Thank you. Thank you. Want me to go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. The book is made up of short stories, pictures of 21 songs, and pictures of 21 Afro-Americans. You know, I just like to throw in why I wrote that book, Clara.
Okay, why did you write it?
Well, when I was in college, you know, I mentioned about playing tennis last week, and you were a little bit surprised that I played tennis. But at any rate, I was studying the violin under a very, very fine virtuoso, Kemper Harrell. And he said that, Evelyn, if you'll stay in Atlanta this summer, I'll teach you violin twice a day. That meant morning and evening. So I decided I wrote home and told them I was going to stay in Atlanta. And while I was there, I was going to play tennis. The third best tennis player in the country would come over to practice. And she needed a guinea pig, and I was that guinea pig. But at any rate, I said, while I'm staying, I might as well take a course. And I took a course in Negro history under Mr. Baycoat, one of my favorite professors. And incidentally, in later years, he became the first black president of the Atlanta Board of Education. All right, back to the course.
Okay, well, finish for me.
I was fascinated when I read all the things that our people had done, the contributions they had made. And it was then that I vowed I would do something so that young people could learn, particularly our people, children could learn about themselves before they got to be in college. And my sister, Blanche, your other sorority,
okay,
was teaching music over at Page School. And she said, Evelyn, I don't mind teaching these songs about all of the white heroes, but I would like to teach our little kids something about our heroes. So I said, all right, I'll write you a song. So I sat down that evening and wrote the song, Carver, Carver, what have you made from the peanuts today? The peanut man, the scientist. So Blanche took it to school the next day, and the little kids loved it. She came back, she said, well, write me another song. And this one was about Benjamin Banneker.
Okay, now, Evelyn, you have 1 more minute to finish.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go on down and let that go, because I'm going to call you again next Saturday.
Okay, I need you to tell me exactly when again will that program be held and where.
It will be held Wednesday, February the 7th.
Wednesday, February the 7th at what time?
11:30.
I will be there.
At Oklahoma Historical Building in the auditorium.
In the auditorium, and it's all free, and I understand there's a group of young people from Pleasant Hill that will be singing.
They'll be singing, and they will be doing something like a skit.
Well, my granddaughter, Alicia Hildred, told me that she was in it.
Good.
And she's real excited about it. Evelyn, you are so kind.
All right.
And remember, this program is being made possible by Behold the Walls by Clara Luper.
All right, I'll call you next week.
Well, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
That was
Evelyn Pittman. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and this is a show that will tell you how to get your income tax check back in 4 days. Can you imagine? Remember when you used to file your tax return and you would have to sit around and wait 6 to 8 weeks for your refund? You don't have to do it anymore. All you would have to do is call Cashland Check Cashing. The telephone number is 424-1222. Now, don't you run up there before you get your check. You've got to get your check first. You can't cash in on what you have sent in. You've got to cash in on your income tax. You filled it out. You have filled out your income tax, and we need it certified so we'll know it's the real thing. So many times you have called me and asked me about different agencies within our city. I have tried through the years to bring you the news concerning these agencies. Last week I had the opportunity to go with my co-workers in the cause of liberty, justice, and equality, namely Mrs. Hicks, Mr. Roosevelt Milton, Mr. Leonard Benton, to the Equal Opportunity EEOC, whatever that means. We had the opportunity to sit down with Mr. Burris as he explained to us the overall program of EEOC. We listened with a great deal of interest to the fact that he was bragging about the large percentage of blacks that were hired by EEOC throughout this nation. But I left that place really disappointed. I was disappointed because in Oklahoma City, where they have 6 black investigators, 4 of them are on probation, and since then, one of them has been fired. I listened with a great deal of interest with the explanations. Mr. Burris tells us that people that had worked in that agency for 7, 8, or 9 years had not done the job correctly. But then I talked to the people in the agency, and they feel, and they are afraid in that agency, because if they say anything, that they find a way to get rid of them. But they feel that something else is wrong. Mr. Burris came to Oklahoma City some 20 months ago. And since those 20 months, the people, one young man in particular who has served his country on foreign soil and fought for his country, is now at home under stress that has been brought about by the supervisors and the director, or vice versa. I looked at the supervisors and I wonder, what kind of supervisor do you have that can't supervise? What kind of supervisor do you have that cannot motivate people to do their best? And I asked, and this is something that I want the public to know, that at the EEOC, they do not have an affirmative action program, yet they go around trying to get everybody else to follow the rules. But they do not have one. And those of you that want further information, all you will have to do is to talk to Mr. Leonard Benton of the Urban League, Mr. Roosevelt Milton of the NAACP, or Mrs. Hicks. Now, the people down there say that they cannot talk about individual cases because of the Privacy Act. Well, we are aware of that act. How in the world do you think we have operated as NAACP without knowing that act? We also know that we can get permission, a signed statement from the individuals, and look into the books. And this is what I'm looking forward to, looking into the record. I want to see Mr. Burris' face. And Mr. Burris says somebody told him that I say something about him on Martin Luther King's Day. And Mr. Burris, I looked him in his beautiful blue eyes and say, yes, I said it. Let me repeat it. Let freedom ring at EEOC. Now, the information that we received not only come from Oklahoma City, but some of it come from Dallas. I have a program out of sight because I have another agent director here. I have a director that you wanted to hear from, and you're going to hear from. Not only that, I'm going to give you the opportunity today to do what you have never done before, to listen to a black race car driver. Now, we pause for our funeral and death announcements for today by Olita.
Ross Funeral Home announces the following services. Services for Mr. Elmer D. Smith Sr. of Midwest City is pending with the Ross Funeral Home. Funeral service for Mrs. Ruby Powell of Oklahoma City is also pending with the Ross Funeral Home. Temple Funeral Home announces the services of Mrs. Joyce Robinson of 416 Northeast 63rd is pending with the Temple Funeral Home. Funeral service for Mrs. Lena Caldwell of Oklahoma City is also pending with the Temple Funeral Home. We would like to say to the families today, as we extend to you our heartfelt sympathy, that be not dismayed whatever betide. God will take care of you. And back to Clara.
Thank you, Anita, and on behalf of the Easley family, they would like to say thanks to all of you for all of the kindness that was shown to them toward the illness and death of their mother, their sister, and their aunts. On behalf of that Easley family, they say thank you to all of you wherever you are. This program is being made possible by Sir Charles Taylor, located at 4725 Southeast 59th Street. You deserve the best. So the best is a tailor-made suit made just for you. All you have to do is call 672-5051. The Capitol Heritage Cafeteria is located in the State Capitol Building. It's open every day from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and a snack bar from 7 to 4 p.m. The secret is this is homemade food, home cooked, cooked the way your grandmothers cooked.
it is out of sight. Now, those of you that say what a fine person I am and you would like to take me out for lunch, remember you can take me to the Capitol Heritage Cafeteria. Don't you wait until I die and then start bringing cakes and pies and things over to my children's houses for Calvin, Marilyn, Shelley, Alicia, and my husband CP to eat. Give me my cakes and pies and the opportunity to go to lunch with you while I live. I can see Bobby just crying and eating my chicken, saying, oh, yes, I remember my mama's gone now, but you remember me before I die. But if you want to get your clothes clean, go to Bright's Cleaners, located at 1905 North Martin Luther King Avenue. That's where you can get your clothes clean and you can look just like you want to look. Go to Bright's Cleaners, open every day at 9 o'clock, closing at 6, all at Bright's Cleaners here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I'm going to get me some new glasses, but I'm sure going to Dr. Dial. Dr. Dial's located at 934 Northeast 8th Street. The telephone number is 2350536. And I'll probably need some new glasses when this director gets through with me. How you do, sir?
Just fine. How are you, Clara?
Okay, would you state your name?
I'm Jim Sconzo, Director of Community Action.
Oh, you're a director of community action. What is that?
Well, that's an agency that helps the poor, and that's what we're here for.
An agency that helps the poor?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been in business?
Oh, the Community Action has been in business for 25 years. They celebrate it this year.
You're celebrating your 25th year this year. You've been helping the poor. All right, when you started out helping the poor, and that's 20 years ago, how many poor people did you have to help in Oklahoma City, in the Oklahoma County area?
Well, I wasn't there at the time, but
I'm aware of that,
I'm
sir.
sure that there's many more poor today than they were then.
Okay, now you're confusing me. You are helping the poor, but yet the poor is getting poor.
The poor is getting poorer, and
Well, then you aren't helping the poor then if the poor is getting poor.
Well, we are helping the poor because now things have changed drastically as far as assistance. Budgets have been cut, times are tougher, the economy's worse, and more people get poor every day.
All right, now you are the Community Action Program, is that right?
That's right.
You are to help the poor. How are you helping the poor?
We have a lot of programs where we help the poor. We're not to maintain them. We're trying to get them off their feet so they become self-sufficient. We have things...
You want to get them off their feet?
We want to help them.
Okay, you want to help them become self-sufficient. You say you have a lot of programs. What are some of the programs you have?
One of the great programs we have is Head Start. We start with the very young, 3- and 4-year-old preschool. We have 1,022 children in Oklahoma City. Nutrition, education, and health and welfare of these children. The parents work with us, and it also educates the parents on a lot of things. Great program.
Okay, you say it's a great program. You say it's a Head Start. What do you mean by Head Start? They're starting ahead of everybody?
Well, it means that these poor kids would not have a chance to go to private daycare schools like the rich, and they need to start out early in life to learn about things before they get into the mean world that we have out there today.
How many of these schools, Head Start schools, do you have in Oklahoma County?
We have 1,022, and hopefully we'll get more.
Schools or students?
These are students. We
Okay,
have,
but how many centers
actually,
do
we
you
have
have?
14 locations.
You have 14 locations here in Oklahoma City?
Yes, we do.
In the Oklahoma City
In the
area?
Oklahoma City area.
Now, your community action program extends into El Reno and that
Yes,
area?
we have Oklahoma and Canadian counties.
Okay, now how many do you have in Canadian
There's just
County?
one in Canadian
You
County.
have one in Canadian County and 14 in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City.
In Oklahoma City.
Right.
Now, you have 1,000 kids in there. It seems to me they would be awfully crowded.
Well, they're in different buildings, and the actual class size is 20 per kid, 20 children per class. So, by federal rules and mandates, we must follow their rules.
Okay, you have 20 in a class, which means you have over 50 classes here in Oklahoma City.
That's right.
Okay, you say a Head Start. What are you starting these kids in? Are you teaching them to read, write, arithmetic, or what are you teaching them?
Reading, writing, skills, good nutrition, good health.
How can
habits.
you teach them good nutrition if they don't have the food?
Well, we feed them.
Oh, you feed them?
We feed them every day a nice, good meal.
You
Excellent
feed
meal.
them, you give them breakfast?
We give them breakfast and dinner.
You are
Excellent.
telling me that you feed over 1,000 children in Oklahoma City every day?
Every day for 10 months a year.
Okay, you do that. That's one of your programs, Head Start, and that's great if you're doing that. Now, I know your programs have been cut. Is that right?
Been cut drastically.
Your
since-
Head Start program has been cut.
Head Start is one of the programs, and we're proud to say that the administration in Washington likes. In fact, I understand President Bush yesterday wanted to put another $500 million in Head Start. That's great. Other programs have been cut drastically.
Okay, let's go to the other programs that you have in Oklahoma City. What are they?
Well, we have weatherization of homes.
That's a good word, weatherization of homes. What does it mean?
We put on storm windows, insulates attics, caulk windows, and otherwise.
Oh, great. How can I get that?
Well, we have income guidelines for all programs, and actually we help the poor, not the rich. You certainly put in an application at our office at 1900 Northwest 10th. We have home repair also. It goes along
Okay, let's
with,
go back to this. How do you know that you can qualify for that particular program?
You would have to call and come to our office. Or
Okay, you
call
couldn't
us.
tell me the income bracket. You know, I'm retired now, and I might be able to qualify.
Well, it depends upon family size. I think it starts out one in the family $7,000. Then it goes up. Depending
Okay,
upon.
if one in a family is $7,000 and the house needs weatherization, it can be done.
Yes.
Okay, now let's go to the other program.
It can be done within the limits of our funds. Understand that a lot of people need this done, but we can't do it for everybody. We have a home repair program where we can fix your roof and do work on your sewage and put in new stoves if you don't have heat.
New stoves?
Brand new stoves.
Cooking stoves?
No, we're talking about furnaces, heat,
Oh, I
and
see.
lights,
I see.
electrical.
I see. I just want to understand. You know, I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma, where we didn't need any heaters. I'm
Well,
talking about, you know, these furnaces that you're talking about. We used wood stoves.
a lot of these we do for the elderly.
Okay, this is for the elderly.
Well-
Now, when you say elderly, what do you mean?
We're talking about the elderly 65 and over. It's eligible for everybody. Of course, the elderly would have priority. We have a priority system. Are primarily targeted to helping minorities. Minorities have not had the opportunity other people have. Private drug and alcohol counseling is terribly expensive.
How do you define minorities? I was reading somewhere that women were minorities, Hispanics, blacks. What are you talking about? when you say-
Minorities is the grouping. Of,
Are you talking
all
about women?
minorities, women are included, yes.
And you're blacks,
Blacks, yes,
Hispanics,
yes.
and also, so you have a center on Lincoln.
On Lincoln Boulevard.
Where?
It's on 4500 Lincoln Boulevard, not far from the
Okay,
Capitol.
so a person that has a drug problem can go to that center.
They certainly can.
Does it make any difference about their income level?
Normally we try to serve low-income people, and we would take them first over any rich people. They certainly would get first priority. If they can pay a small-scale fee, fine, but we turn nobody away. We also have a drug and alcohol office on Southwest 15th Street for that section of the town. We're having drug and alcohol training in Oklahoma City public schools, which we all know drug and alcohol is a terrible thing in our society nowadays. We cannot give up on the war. Sometimes we become discouraged. It's a very difficult thing, and we must continue to combat it.
I watched President Ford's lips as he stated that he was hiring a czar that would really do something about it. No, I'm sorry, not President Reagan. It was President Reagan. Who hired Bennett?
Bush.
I'm so happy Shelley is here to correct me. It was President Ford that hired the big czar. That was President Reagan. I'm sorry, President Ford. Okay, it was President Reagan that hired the czar. Well, the czar is still working, isn't he? Has it made a difference in your program since we have this big czar, Mr. Bennett?
Well, I'm not sure that the czar, Mr. Bennett, I think more people at the grassroots level become aware of drug problems. I think people in the neighborhoods are becoming aware of drug problems and now doing something about it. It's at this level here that we need to do something about it. What happens in Washington, naturally, is backing us up with funds. It takes funds, but it must be done right on the streets here at the grassroots level.
Okay, so you're saying that the Community Action Program, with all of your agencies, your program is working on the drug problem here in Oklahoma and Canadian County.
Yes, we are, and we're expanding, and we hope to expand further because it's a terrible social problem we need to work on.
Okay, when you say we, who are you talking about?
We're talking about the community.
The community needs to work on the drug
The
problem.
community must. No one person can do it. It must be a community effort.
Okay, now how did you go about finding people that would head this particular program?
We certainly advertise in the paper, and we have hired a lot of minority counselors. We need minority counselors. We're being ad in the Sunday paper, since you mentioned it, tomorrow. We need 3 more counselors.
You need 3 more counselors. Now, what are the qualifications for the counselors?
We would like to have naturally a qualified drug and alcohol counselor that's certified, or a person.
Certified? What do you mean certified? You have to be certified with special training?
They are certified drug and alcohol counselor training. However, if you do not have that, we would like to have a degree in counseling or a related field, and certainly we would train you. There is a shortage of drug and alcohol counselors. It's a new field. It's something a lot of people don't know about. So consequently, we certainly would afford people training if they have the basic qualifications.
This is the Clara Luper radio show, and we are talking to, I want your exact title, please.
I'm Jim Sconser, Executive Director of the Community Action League.
Executive Director of the Community Action Program. All right, now you have told me about 3 or 4 of your programs. Do you have some more?
We have community services where we work with neighborhood groups and help them organize into bodies that help themselves. We help on rent and eviction. We help on gas and lights.
Okay, you say you are helping on rent, eviction. Does that mean that if I'm getting kicked out because I cannot pay my rent, that you will help me?
Yes, we will. And we have funds that have came down from Washington for that purpose. And you must have an eviction notice, and your landlord must work with us. And we're certainly not going to pay your rent today if your landlord is going to kick you out tomorrow. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to eliminate any more homeless people.
All right, so you're trying to eliminate homeless people.
That's right.
Through the Community Action Program.
Yes, we are.
All right, tell me about another program that you might have.
And we have a homeless program. As
You have a
know.
homeless program. Explain that one to me.
Well, you know, the nation's attention became on the homeless 2 years ago. There was a bill passed called the Sturt P. McKinley Bill. It has sent some funds down to states and communities to help the homeless. We work directly with the shelters. We also try to get people self-sufficient. We would pay for a license, for a chauffeur's license. We would send a person to VOTEC to go to school. We would help a person with their first month's rent to get a house. If a person has a job and, say, needs a uniform, we would help them with that. We're helping many people with prescription drugs and eyeglasses. So we're working directly with the homeless. The main thing on the homeless is get the kids out of the shelter. It's no place for them to live.
Well, that's commendable. You're doing all of that. Now, how do you operate your agency? To do all of that, I understand that you're located on Northwest 10th Street.
Our main office is on Northwest 10th Street. We have community centers around the quadrants of the city for each quadrant. We have them in northeast, southwest, southeast, and out the city-county area with Spencer and Luther. So people don't have to come clear to 10th Street to get help. They go to the center that services their area. We also have an office in El Reno and one in Yukon.
All right, now, does your agency discriminate?
Absolutely not. That's what we're
You're
supposed
so
to.
sure. You say absolutely not. Do you have any blacks in any important positions in the Community Action Program?
Out of 25 supervisors, 19 are blacks.
But then,
Three of mine.
wait a minute. You have what?
25 supervisory slots, mid-level, 19 are minorities. I have 6 division directors, 3 are black.
Who are your 3 black supervision directors?
Kevin Shaw in Head Start, Mr. Nagusi, who's my finance officer, and Jackie Edwards, who's my director of admin services.
All right, you have all of that. Do you have a Leslie Brown that works for your agency?
I have a Leslie Brown, EEO officer, yes, a special
What is he?
project.
What does he do?
He's my equal opportunity officer.
What does that mean, basically?
He makes sure that things are done in accordance with the law. He listens to complaints of employees, and he does special projects for me.
I see. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and I'm talking to the Executive Director of the Community Action Program. He has just told me that he does not discriminate based on race. How about religious?
Same thing. Same thing. There's no...
Females?
Females.
You don't discriminate. I've often wondered why people are so interested in you. And I have called and I've tried to say something against you, and they told me, no, that's not true. Your records are open.
My records are open.
They are clear.
They're clear.
You don't mind people talking about them on radio?
Be my guest.
Oh, I see. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and I'm talking to one of our own community action directors. You've been very open with me. Are you satisfied with the job you are doing as an executive director?
I think I'm doing a good job.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself?
Oh, I would say an 8.
An 8.
There's certainly room for improvement in every person.
Oh, well, great. I'm glad that you realize that. So the people that I have talked to about you, they rated you on a 10. And those are people that work with you, and those people are very intelligent. All right, what do you see as a future for the Community Action Program?
Community Action must adjust. We can't just give out cheese and butter and fixed roofs anymore.
Oh, you didn't talk about cheese and butter. You give out
We
cheese
give
and
out
butter?
commodities every month, USDA.
Now, how can you qualify for some commodities?
Again, it's income guidelines. Everything we do is
I'm
for poor
telling
people.
you, I
you
thought
see?
I had me some butter. And,
We don't want people from
Not retired,
Nichols Hills and the cheese and butter line. You
okay,
understand?
so you go to the cheese and butter line. Where do they give away this cheese and butter?
Well, we have it at 14 different sites, our sites, and it's not always cheese and butter. You see,
What else you
it
get
all
besides
depends
cheese and
on what
butter?
we get every
But
month.
what else are you
Flour. Last month we had flour, peanut butter, and honey. We haven't had cheese for a long time. Evidently, we're having problem getting cheese from the government, but we certainly do have other things that even give out beans once
Does your
in a while.
wife ever call you honey?
Occasionally.
Oh, good. I'm sure glad they're giving out honey. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and today's show is being made possible by Capital Heritage Cafeteria, located in the state capital in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. If you need some glasses, go to Dr. Dial, 934 Northeast 8th Street here in Oklahoma City, and he will take care of business. In your closing minutes, I would like for you to speak to the poor in Oklahoma and the homeless. And I want you to say to them what you would say to them if you were talking to them in person. It's all yours, Mr. Executive Director.
I would say to them that there's a person and a place and an agency in this community that has the explicit concern for the poor. As you know, in Washington and Congress and up in the halls of the Capitol, there's very many numerous special interest groups that are all for a specific thing. Community actions around the state and the nation, their specific concern is for the poor. That's what we're there for, is to help you. It's no disgrace to be poor. You need help. We're here to help you, and that's what we want to do. We all must have a helping hand once in a while, and certainly we're there to give it to you. We found there's probably about 76,000 people in the two-county area that meet the income guidelines of poor. There's so many near poor that just miss $1 of that. We have your explicit concerns in community action to help the poor. And hopefully, with budget cuts, people in Congress will still see through all the special interest groups that they still need community actions in this nation.
Thank you so very kindly, and thank you for visiting with me today. I would also like to thank you for your continued support of the Soul Bazaar.
the Trade and Industry Show, the only one in Oklahoma that's sponsored by minorities. I would like to thank you so very kindly. And I want you to know that anytime you want to report anything to the people, you can always come to KBYE Radio. We will be happy to do it.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for inviting me, and that's what the executive director said. Thank you for coming, Mr. Director, and don't leave, because certainly we want to see you after this big show. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show. This is a show that you just can't miss. You have to listen to this show because it is so exciting. The most exciting show that you will ever hear. Speaking of the Soul Bazaar will be held in Oklahoma City, March 16th and 17th. You can participate in the Soul Bazaar. We're going to have a big one. It's going to be the biggest one ever. If you want to exhibit, I want you to call us, 424-3949. And incidentally, on next week, for the first time, we will be calling the names of our exhibitors. We will be giving them a whole month and a half exposure of the best. I have with me today Lady Ruth Hunter, who is directing the 1990 Soul Bazaar Baby Contest. It's yours, Lady.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Clara Luper Radio Show. I hope you are listening to us this afternoon, because on March the 16th in 1990, we will be having a Miss Soul Bazaar Baby Contest, and I will be passing out and mailing out some applications. So if you desire and would love to put your pretty little doll into the Miss Soul Bazaar Baby Contest, I'll be so glad and elated when you do. But I will be contacting you, and I'll be calling on many of you. And the baby contest will be on March the 16th at 5 p.m. and at the Myriad here in Oklahoma City. So if you would like to have some information about the baby contest, now you have to give me time to get home after the show. And the telephone number is 427-3925. Now, if you missed me this afternoon, because my son told me that I had to come out and see him wrestle, and his number is 73. So I'm going to have to get out there and see him wrestle. He's wrestled once this morning, Mrs. Luper, and he won that one.
Oh,
and he
my
said, Mama, you got to
gracious.
come out and see me in the next match. So if by chance you miss 427-3925, call 424-3949 and leave the message there. And I'll be so delighted and happy to take your name and address and see to it that you will get an application. Because I'd love to see those lovely babies, because we have two divisions. We're going to have the competition grade ages 1 to 3 for the toddlers and 4 through 6 for the young set.
Oh, that's exciting.
know
That's really exciting.
You will be happy to see your little children modeling in the Miss Soul Bazaar, because we plan to teach them some techniques and let the other upper starts know that ages 1 through 6 can show them how to model and do other things that young people should know how to do. So do not forget, the telephone number is 427-3925. So don't forget to call me. I'll be looking to hear from you.
Miss Dolly Hall announces the Miss Soul Bazaar contest in which she is directing this year. The Little Miss Soul Bazaar and the Miss Soul Bazaar contest. If you notice, these are programs that involve the total community. The Mr. Talent USA will be held on March 17th, 1990. On March 17th, 1990, the Soul Bazaar will be held, and you are invited. We'll be telling you more about that next week. In the meantime, today is a day that you've been waiting for. All your life, you've been waiting to hear from a real sports car racer, and I have one here today in living colors. What's your name, sir?
Cameron Carter.
Cameron Carter. And what is your occupation?
Well, actually, I'm a mailman, and I work for Sound Warehouse, which is a record store. So I'm working 2 jobs right now.
Oh, well, that's good. It's nothing I enjoy better than to see young men working 2 jobs. Are you married?
No, I've never been married.
Oh, I'm sure the young ladies out there listening to the Clara Luper Radio Show, ladies and gentlemen. And to the ladies, I have a young man who's working 2 jobs to reach his goal in life. You better try to catch him. Let me give you his name again. Your name is?
Cameron Carter.
Now, Mr. Carter, I understand that you like to drive fast cars. Is that true?
That's exactly true. I enjoy it a lot. It's a special feeling.
It's a special feeling when you drive those race track cars. Now, I'm not talking about breaking the speed limit. Tell me all about your experiences in the racetrack business.
Well, they have not all been very good. Some of them, when I first started, I lost money in because I was involved with people that didn't know exactly what they were doing. So I've had to leave the state and make a lot of connections to learn exactly what I needed to do.
So you have had to leave the state?
Well, yes, all of my connections are outside the state. I have quite a few connections with some major corporations, beer companies and cigarette companies.
All right, now, I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma, sir, and we didn't have race tracks down there. Rather, we had tires, and we would roll our tires. But tell me, how do you get in the racetrack business?
Well, as a car owner, the way you would start at first is to buy a car and form your team.
Oh, buy a car. How much do those cars cost?
Well, an Indy car costs approximately $250,000.
Oh, just a minute now. I didn't quite understand you. To get in, you buy a car first. And a car costs what?
Well, an Indy car is $250,000, but there are many different classes of races which cars are a little bit cheaper.
Okay, I would want the $250,000 race car. After you buy your car, then what?
Then you set your team up. You pick your driver, and then you solicit for sponsorship. That would be the companies nationwide that are into sponsorship.
Okay, then I get my sponsors, and then what?
Well, then you decide that since we're running an IndyCar, we're going to run the IndyCar circuit. The companies will usually, for an IndyCar circuit, will put about $5 million into the project.
Okay, so what you need is some sponsors here? Oh, we have people out there that can sponsor $5 million. That's no money.
Well, yeah, that's the biggest problem is that most of the teams aren't based here. They're based either on out of Indiana, California, or somewhere off the East Coast.
Okay, then you have to go to the East Coast before you can become part of a team.
Well, right now, yeah. It would be a really fairly hard thing to do to form a team from here.
Okay, so how do you get in other teams?
Well, I've traveled around and I meet the other drivers and car owners at the races.
Okay, your car owners are the very, very rich because many of the owners have more than one of those $250,000 cars.
Yes, Roger Penske is probably the richest.
Okay, Roger has about how many cars?
I would say, since he has his cars built, I would say he has 6 on hand at all time, but possibly he could have 10, as many as 10.
Okay, so then you apply and you run. No, you race.
Well, not exactly. It depends on how marketable the driver is, on how much sponsorship you get. Just about anyone can drive a race car. You can be taught. The biggest thing is getting over the fear of driving at high speeds at close odds.
When you say high speed, what are you talking about?
Well, in excess of 230 miles an hour.
Oh, that's too fast for me. I don't even want to fly that fast.
Well, it's not.
You mean to tell me you can drive a car 200 and some miles per hour?
I tested an Indy car back in September, and 214 was the fastest I've gotten so far.
250 miles per hour driving a race car.
Yes.
All right, now, you are experienced. You won some races, haven't you?
Yes.
Tell me about those you won.
Well, just about any race you'd finish is a win as I first started. I've won races in the rain. I'm a better rain driver than I am a dry pavement driver. I can make up the difference running in the rain.
You can make up the difference?
Well, sometimes you'll have cars or teams that are stronger, and that usually balances everyone out because some of the drivers aren't as adapted to driving in the wet.
Have you faced any discrimination because of your race?
Unfortunately, yes. 2 years ago, I was supposed to test a car here at Hallett Motor Speedway, and I was told that I was not going to be able to test that car because they did not want a black driver testing this car.
And that was here in the great state of Oklahoma?
Well, the team was based out of Indiana, and the track testing would have been at Hallett Motor Speedway right outside of Tulsa.
Okay. Now, since then, is that the only case?
No, there's been many others, and there's quite a bit in the racing world. I couldn't even bother to tell you.
Okay. Now, who is the top black racetrack driver in the United States at this time?
Right now it's Willie T. Ribbs, but I'd have to say he's not the top in the United States. He's the top in the world. There's only two. There's Ribbs and then myself.
There are only two black racetrack drivers in the United States?
Yes.
And who's the top in the world?
It would have to be Willie T. Ribbs.
Willie T. Ribbs. I'm sure everybody's writing that name down, and don't you forget it. I would like to certainly thank you for being my very distinguished guest, and how time can fly. Do you realize we've been talking 7 minutes?
Yeah, well, I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, I've certainly enjoyed your being here, and everybody's smiling, and I'm sure that Shelley wants your autograph because, oh yes, and Pat wants your autograph, and Liddy wants your autograph, and I know those of you out in Radio Land wish you were here so you could get an autograph. There are only two in the United States, and I have one of them here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This evening at 4 p.m. at 2609 North Martin Luther King Avenue, the first organizational meeting of Miss Black Oklahoma 1990 will be held. If you are interested in becoming a contestant, you're to meet us at exactly 4 p.m. You will have an opportunity to participate in America's Great. And as we look at pageants on the 3rd of February, there will be a pageant, and I think this is Central. No, on the 17th, the Miss Black OU will be held. And on next Saturday, Miss Black Cameron University will be held. And Miss Black Central State University will also be held on February the 17th. I would like to acknowledge a letter from the Vice President for Student and Administrative Services, Mrs. Mary E. Crawford at Oklahoma City University, who say that they are going to place posters everywhere for Miss Black Oklahoma. They are going to make an announcement in the campus newspaper, and they will utilize every effort, and the dean and the associate dean of students will make informal contact with various students, and they will contact the School of Music. Thank you so much, Mary. Now, the word is going out what's happening at Rose State College. Why is it that Rose State College will not have a Miss Black Rose State College? You have asked me, and I can promise you that I'm going out to investigate. Things are changing. Time marches on. For the past weeks, I've told you about Tinker Air Force Base, not Tinker's Credit Union, not the Air Force Base. There have been some dramatic changes in the election procedures. I read it with a great deal of interest, and those of you that want to read it, you may read the January 1990, Volume 19, Number 1 issue. In that, there were so many things that I did not fully understand, and certainly I read on page 3, and I read about the new candidacy procedures. The deadline, now they are running, you run for members of the board of directors, and the deadline must be submitted if you wanted to run by January the 22nd. However, the people that I have talked to, many of them did not read the tailer, and they did not understand that was the deadline. Now, the paper stated that the declaration of intent to seek elected office must be received by 3 p.m. January the 22nd, 1990, and will not to be accepted after that deadline. Now, the shocker came to me when I read number 5, which says that nominations or applications will not to be accepted during the annual meeting. And that took me to the chairman of the board of directors, Mrs. Moore. I asked Mrs. Moore, is it true that at the coming up meeting in March, when your members will gather there, they cannot nominate? And she told me that was our policy. I also asked her what parliamentarian description or outline do they go by, and she told me Robert's Rules of Order. Then I went to Robert's Rules of Order, continuing my educational research, and I find that book or that procedures allow you to nominate from the floor. Now, I also read that if you were running, you would have to go before a committee, and there you would have to be more or less screened.
and that will be, the screening will be done by a committee that will be selected by the board and all of that. I wondered about that, but who am I to wonder about it? I wondered about the date of the open forum. How would it be announced? Would it be announced to all of the members? And I understand that the names are now out of those who will run. But I haven't seen the names. Have you? Have you received an announcement as to the date, the time, and the place of this meeting? If not, be sure to read your tale. They say that it will be there. And I